Welcome everyone. Glad to see you on my channel. Today I will tell you about an unusual story, an amazing story about companionship and love. I wish you a pleasant audience. Mag put the phone aside. She had called her husband several times before, but Ken wouldn't pick up, and now his phone was off. But where are you, Ken? Why aren't you always around when you're needed? Ma, Mag whispered irritably. She pulled out some chewy candy from her purse and threw one in her mouth. She always did that when she was nervous. Her father had taught her that when she was little. Dad raised her alone. Her mother died very young, so Meg remembered everything he told her because she just didn't have anyone else to tell her anything about life. Meg chewed candy and looked out her car window, going to the office. What was the use? She certainly wouldn't find him there. Bruno often disappeared somewhere, but never reported his movements. She went back to her thoughts of cheating. Why did it keep her up? Could it be her intuition that Dad believed in so much? Or maybe she was just being paranoid. They haven't been married long enough to be looking for fun on the side. Or was it something else? She leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. She was immersed in memories. A few years earlier, her father had known he was terminally ill. That is why, when the girl was 22, he suddenly began to insist that she get married quickly. Was not aware of his medical condition, so she resisted. But her father was very insistent. He really was very concerned about her future. And apparently she intuitively felt that it was better for her to obey her father. Her father's only stipulation was a prenuptial agreement. I beg you, promise me that you and your future husband will make a marriage contract. That's the only way you'll get married. I beg you, promise me, my father insisted. Daddy, what are you so worried about? All right, I promise you can take care of the contract yourself. I trust you completely, answered Meg. But Daddy didn't have time to take care of anything anymore. He passed away suddenly. Meg was the sole heiress to a big business, several real estate firms. It was a shock to her that she had lost her father. Then she realized that he hadn't asked her to find a husband for nothing. He already knew he would soon be unable to take care of her. The girl was being courted by several young men at the time. They were two friends. They were both actively showing signs of attention toward her. She liked both Bruno and Alex. She couldn't decide which one she wanted. The two boys competed to see who could surprise her more and win her heart. At first, the girl could not distinguish the behavior of the boys from each other. They both courted her almost identically. Even the manner of communication was similar. But over time, the differences between them did come to light. Bruno was a little arrogant. He admired Nastya, but did not forget to flaunt himself in front of other women. The girl always liked the way others looked at him. She was proud of herself that he paid attention to her. Alex looked only at her. Bruno was very persistent. Mag noticed that if something didn't work out the way he wanted it to, he got angry and was ready to tear everyone responsible to pieces. Alex was more restrained and wiser in such matters, and Alex thought several times before making any important move. His caution pleased the girl. She herself was used to taking important matters seriously. Meg knew that she liked both of them so much that each of the guys was ready to marry her. But it wasn't she who made the choice. It just so happened that Bruno was the first one to propose to her. It happened a month after her father died. Mag doubted that enough time had passed since the funeral to play the wedding. But Bruno was persuasive. Father convinced his heiress to get married. Understand, you have a big business on your hands. You need someone to help you run your business. I think now is the right time for us to join our fates. I'll help you, and you'll have peace of mind. And your father would be happy to have you in good hands. And Mag gave up. The only thing that puzzled her was Leish's reaction when Mag and Bruno told him that they were going to get married. The guy reacted strangely. He was excited, hugging them, congratulating them, throwing in some jokes. But Mag noticed the look in his eyes. Alex was like a wounded beast, trying his best to resist the last battle to defend his honor. It only took one look at her for Alicia to question her decision, but he didn't say a word about how he thought their move was wrong. He didn't say that he wanted to marry Nastya himself. He didn't fight for her, and Mag decided he didn't want her as much as Bruno did. Bruno and Nastya got married. The wedding was modest. It was the bride's wish. She didn't want to throw a fancy party, although the groom really wanted to. They just got married. Only Bruno's best friend Alex and the girl's friend were with them, and one more condition was agreed upon even before the wedding. Mag provided Bruno with a prenuptial agreement, which had been drawn up at the request of the girl's father. It was obvious that Bruno didn't like it at all, but he agreed to all the terms of the contract. "I don't understand what this is for. I love you very much, and I would never do anything to hurt you. I only want to take care of you. I don't care about your wealth, your money, your businesses. All I care about is you. And it's as if you suspect me of being mercenary, so you made this prenuptial agreement." Bruno said, a little irritated, "I love you too, and I do not suspect you of mercantilism. I am fulfilling my father's request. I promised him before he died that I would marry under a prenuptial agreement, and I'm just keeping my promise, that's all. If you love me, it will not be difficult for you to fulfill my request," she replied. Prenuptial agreement was signed. Meg and Bruno were now legally married. They didn't even have a honeymoon. Bruno immediately got involved in the work. He began to get into the business of the firm, and Meg breathed a sigh of relief. She could now not worry about her future. Her father made sure that she did not need anything, and her husband would make sure that her father's business continued to live, develop, and be a success. The girl went to the cemetery, put flowers on a mound studded with wreaths, and reported back to her father. "Everything will be all right now. Don't worry about me, I'm in good hands. I've done everything the way you asked. I kept all my promises, and you sleep well. Love you." The girl went about her womanly business, and her husband went about the business of the firm. She only signed documents that her husband provided her with. She did not go into the affairs of the firm at all, shifting all responsibility to her husband. Her husband kept her informed. He constantly told her about successful deals, new clients. Mag only nodded, smiled, and signed the documents. Everything suited her. She didn't want to deal with her father's business, let her husband do it. And her husband was doing just fine. "Hey, lady, how long you gonna stand there? I've honked your horn several times. You're ignoring me. Isn't it clear that I need to get into the yard and you're in my way? How else can I explain it so that you understand?" A sharp knock on the window and a loud shout drew the girl out of her clinging memories. She flinched and opened her eyes. "I'm sorry, I didn't hear the signal. I'm sorry. I'll pull away now," Meg apologized, smiling affably. But the man didn't smile back, just said irritably, "He's got her mind on it. And who put you behind the wheel? They buy a license and then drive like they're the only ones on the road, chickens." The man walked away, and the girl drove a little farther away. The man drove into the yard, honking his horn at her again. He was no longer paying attention to him. The girl took out her cell phone again and called her husband. "The caller is unavailable." "But where was he?" She called a friend. "Maybe he knows where her husband is," Alex answered immediately. "I don't know where he is. I can't reach Elena myself. She said she was going to the mall." And that was the end of it. For the second hour, the subscriber is not a subscriber. I'm telling you, what a bastard. Probably forgot to charge her phone again. She does that a lot. "How are you doing, Mag? You sound kind of sad. Are you okay? Maybe there's something I can do," said the boy. Mag was silent, not knowing what to say. She did not want to burden her friend unnecessarily, especially since he had enough problems of his own. He got married a year ago too, only he was not as well off as Mag and Bruno. He lived poorly. He was trying to get his business going. That's when he met his wife. The girl quickly married a promising, handsome man. Only things did not work out with the business. It burned out, and that was it. And Alex was left with nothing. Good thing he didn't go into debt, and in front of everyone. He held firm, did not snap at his wife, and she took advantage of it. Mag could see the pain in the guy's eyes when he was subjected to his wife's taunts and taunts. She felt sorry for him, but there was nothing she could do. One day she said to him, when they were alone for a moment, "Fella, let me help you. You know it's not hard for me. I have enough means to help you and not even notice it. I want to help you." This conversation took place during their regular family reunion. Alien had humiliated her husband a few minutes earlier by throwing some sort of insult at him. Bruno laughed, and he only clenched his fists in anger and resentment. Only Meg noticed it in the kitchen. She went to him with the suggestion, but he only smiled sadly. You know me, smiled sadly. You know me. I will not accept help from anyone, especially from you. I'll be fine, don't worry. It's only temporary. Why won't you accept help from me? Asked the girl. And then Alex looked intently into her eyes and wanted to say something, but he did not say a word. He only squeezed her hand tightly so that her heart beat faster. And then he said softly, "I really appreciate our friendship. Know that I will always help you, but I will not accept help from you. I can handle myself. I'm not in such a terrible situation that I need help from strangers, but I'm not an outsider," she said with her eyes downcast. "You're no stranger to me, but I don't want money to come between us." Alex wanted to say something else, but his wife came into the kitchen and he shut up. Meg remembered that conversation now. She knew that if Alex asked for anything, he would make a mistake and comply with her request in any way he could. So she didn't want to mess with his head over little things. "Yeah, it's okay, Alex. I'm just worried that I can't not get through. Don't worry about it. I'm sure everything is fine, especially since he called me today and said he's inviting us to your house tonight. Didn't you know that? That's weird. Well, I'll see you tonight. See you later." She turned the phone off. Strangely, her husband didn't say anything about an evening out. The girl started the car and drove home. To her surprise, he was already home. "Where were you? Why was your phone turned off? I could not reach you," she said indignantly. But Bruno was calm. He just smiled and said, "What is it?" "My sweet wife lost her successful husband." "Why did you need me, my sweetie?" "You're just my bun. I'm just scared of you. Scared out of my wits." The girl was angry at her husband's antics. She irritably threw his hands off her shoulders and said, "Stop it. I'm talking to you seriously, and you're squirming like a monkey." As soon as Bruno heard the comparison with the monkey, his cheerful mood immediately disappeared. Without a shadow of a smile, he took his hands off his wife's shoulders and said, "What manners, Mag? What do you think you're doing? What monkey? You cannot even joke, you see. You're strange. You don't know why my phone was off. Was I in a meeting or an important meeting? Or did it just run out of power? What's the difference? It's okay, right? I'm home now. What's there to think about? And notifying me when the guests are coming doesn't make any difference either." My husband frowned. "What guests?" "Leisha and Alina. Why didn't you tell me they were coming? I would have called the housekeeper to clean up, and I would have called the housekeeper to clean up, and I would have called the cook, someone." Bruno smiled again. "Oh, come to think of it, what kind of guests are they? They're just friends. Why show off in front of them? They don't have 1/100th of what we have. I don't think we have anything to worry about when they come to us. They'll think everything here is fancy. I ordered food delivered from the restaurant. I'm going to take a shower or they'll be here soon. They hadn't seen each other in a long time, but there wasn't much conversation at the table. They listened to music and talked on distracted topics, strangely enough. They didn't make fun of her husband this time. It was as if she hadn't noticed him at all. And Mag noticed that Alex often looked at her. He did this when Mag wasn't looking at him, but she could feel his gaze on her. As soon as Mag started looking at Alex, he immediately lowered his gaze. There was some tension in the air, and Mag didn't know what was wrong. When Alien and Alex finally left, Mag sighed more freely. She said to her husband, "Have you noticed anything strange?" Bruno raised his eyebrows in surprise. "What was I supposed to notice? I do not know what you mean. Are you making up nonsense again?" The girl said with a frown and thoughtfulness, "No, I'm not. Didn't you notice they were acting strangely, as if they were hiding something from us? And she was so nice to everybody today. Usually she is in her usual way. Different behavior. It seemed very strange to me. Alex hardly ever talked. He usually talks a lot to you. It doesn't make any sense. Maybe they're in trouble. Don't you know anything I should know?" Bruno sighed and rolled his eyes. Meg could see that he was getting nervous, but I didn't understand why. "You're in your repertoire. You're always imagining things, and there really isn't anything." "No, they were behaving quite normally. Well, except that we didn't talk as much as usual. And what's wrong with that?" "Well, for one thing, we hadn't all seen each other in a long time. And secondly, it's evening. Everybody's tired after a day's work. You don't feel tired because you're not working. I'm doing work for both of us. And Leshka must be tired too." That's why he was quiet. And his wife just calmed down. I guess if she stopped nagging him, it meant things were getting better. No, it didn't seem that way to me. I don't think they're getting along. They didn't even look at each other. It's weird, Bruno, and you can't convince me otherwise. Something's not right here. Bruno wanted to say something, but changed his mind. He grumbled irritably and went to his office. The girl was alone in the bedroom. She thoughtfully looked out the window and wondered if strange things were going on around her. It seemed to her that she was missing something important. She could not understand where. Why did she feel so uneasy? She could not find the answers to her questions, and it frightened and disturbed her. For the next week, everything was normal. Mag was busy with her own business. She had to go away for 2 days this weekend. She had been invited by a friend to her birthday party. They would be celebrating at the recreation center. Of course, it was an expensive complex, and it could not be called a recreation center. It was a very expensive vacation spot, where only very wealthy people could afford to come. But my friend married a rich man. He catered to her every whim. They rented the whole complex for 2 weekends. It cost a lot of money, but the birthday girl's husband didn't skimp. Irene called her and Bruno, but her husband refused to go. "I have a lot of work this weekend. I can't afford a vacation. You go. Can't someone take you so you don't have to drive yourself?" "That's fine. I won't even worry about you then. I'll get to work. I have some meetings scheduled for Saturday, and on Sunday I have a couple of important meetings on which the new contract depends. You see, I'm doing my best for us. How could anything be more important than our success?" The girl was a little upset, but then she thought, what if a few days apart will do her and her husband good? Why, she would calm down a little. She'd been having too many anxious thoughts in her head lately. She needs to rest and get rid of all the negativity. All week, the girl had been shopping and salon shopping. On Friday, she was fully prepared to leave, and friends came to pick her up. They picked her up with her things. Her husband walked Mag to the car. "Bruno, so sorry you're not going. Maybe you'll drop what you're doing," Meg asked, hugging her husband. But Bruno answered firmly, "No, dear, that's out of the question. I also wish I were going with you. We would have had great fun, but you'll have to have fun for both of us. Call me when you get home. I'll miss you so much." He kissed his wife on the cheek. The girl left. The weekend passed in one breath. She really had fun, so her spirits lifted again. She convinced herself that all the disturbing thoughts were just a figment of her wild imagination. Could she suspect her husband of cheating if he, the heiress of a big business, suspects her husband of infidelity? Loves her so much. After all, he does so much for her, works so hard. He even refuses to take a vacation, just to keep an eye on things at the firm. Isn't that proof of his love? Of course it is. And she just needs to occupy herself with something to keep these silly thoughts out of her head. Yes, she had to help her husband so that he would have more free time. Mag was going to tell him that when she arrived Monday morning. Bruno was no longer home, even though it was very early. She called her husband, but Bruno only said briefly, "Welcome home. We'll talk later. I'm very busy, I'll call you myself." Meg was upset at first. She had hoped so much to talk to her husband about her decision in the morning. She wanted to discuss their relationship, which had become a bit strained lately. There had been no intimacy between them for months. This problem also bothered her a great deal. Meg understood that Bruno was working very hard and tired. She imagined how happy he would be that she wanted to take care of business at the firm too. She even thought that they would go to the firm together, and her husband would begin to introduce her to the business. She would help him, and he would be less tired. Things would be good between them again. She shrugged and smiled to herself. So they would talk tonight. She'll give her husband a romantic dinner, but right now she needs to take care of herself. After such an active holiday, she needed to tidy herself up and get some sleep. The girl turned on the water to draw a bath. She climbed into the closet to get a new box of bath bombs. When she opened the box, she froze. The box was open, but Mag had not yet used these bombs. However, there was one balloon missing from the box. She certainly hadn't taken it. The girl looked at herself in the mirror. Her face was full of amazement. Had her husband really taken a bath? But he had never used her things, never taken anything that was in that locker. He didn't even take a bath for himself, preferring to bathe under the shower. He could only take a bath with his wife, which sometimes happened, but she wasn't home. Did he decide to draw his own bath and use her bombs? I don't think so. Unless, Mag turned pale. Unless he wasn't taking a bath alone, but with someone. Was there really a woman in here? God, let it be only her fantasy. But she knew it was not for nothing that she had long suspected her husband of cheating. Her intuition told her that this was a very important moment, and she must not miss anything important. Meg put the box of bombshells back in its place. She began to examine the contents of the box. It was impossible to see if anyone had used her cosmetics. She had so much stuff. Aha! Now this is interesting. Toothbrushes. The box of toothbrushes was sealed before, but now it's open, and there's one missing. Maybe Bruno got himself a new one. Mag took her husband's toothbrush and examined it carefully. No, it was old, so the brush wasn't for him. She felt her heart begin to pound hard. She closed the drawer and looked at herself in the mirror, pale but determined. Well, maybe there was something else she was missing. And she began walking around the house, paying attention to all sorts of little things. She opened the dishwasher. There were 4 plates, 4 mugs, and 2 glasses. Nothing would have been suspicious if the glasses had been in their place in the cabinet, in a box. But the glasses were in the dishwasher, so they had been used. So her husband had been drinking with someone. The girl went to the bedroom. The bed was made. She threw back the blanket. When she had left, there had been green bedclothes, but now there was dark blue with gold ornamentation. Mag headed for the laundry room. She opened the cabinet where the dirty laundry basket was kept. In it lay white linens. The girl looked at it for about a minute. Then she picked it up and brought it to her face. She smelled it. The linen smelled like a woman's perfume, but it wasn't her perfume. It was some kind of sweet and cloying scent. Mag didn't use that. She spread the sheet across the floor. She examined it carefully, not knowing what she was looking for. But her intuition did not fail her. She found something that confirmed her hunch. It was a bright red stain. It was a lipstick stain. There could be no doubt, while Nastia was gone, another woman was present in the house. And she was taking a bath with her bombshell. She was drinking something with her husband out of expensive glasses. And she was sleeping with her husband on their bed, on her snow white linens, and she had left a mark of her lipstick on it. Apparently, it had been a stormy night at her house, and Meg had been away the whole time. She crumpled with anger and just threw the sheet into the hamper. The closet door slammed shut, a loud bang, making her flinch. Her nerves were on edge. Meg headed into the bedroom again. She stood in the middle of the room looking at her husband's bed. Her husband cheating on their bed, a bed that she herself had personally chosen in a catalogue, and that they had had custom-made with some details in mind. The girl clenched and unclenched her fists. So, her intuition did not fail her after all, and her husband really betrayed her. There mag on the floor beside the bed. Something caught her attention. She bent down and saw something glistening on the floor. She picked up her find. It was a gold earring. It was the jewelry of her husband's mistress. She had no such earrings. Mag looked at it carefully. The clasp was loose, so it came undone. In a fit of passion, the woman who had slept with her husband didn't feel it and didn't even notice it was missing. Mag hid the earring in her nightstand. Yeah, what a lowlife. Bringing his mistress into their house. How could he? Mag did everything for him. She gave him complete freedom in his affairs. She trusted him. She loved him, and he betrayed her. He just took a shit in her soul. What is she going to do now? How is she going to tell him that she knows everything? How to do it? And who is this woman? And who is this woman? Mag wanted to know who he was cheating on her with. She didn't think it was a prostitute, since the earrings were pure gold. Women of easy virtue wouldn't wear those when she went to see her clients. God, what a nightmare. Could she have imagined that she would have to endure such a terrible disappointment? No, never in her life. Mag tried to come to her senses. She didn't take a bath. She just took a shower, standing under the stream of water with her eyes closed. She tried to push away thoughts of what might have been going on in this house while she was gone. She was disgusted when she thought of the fact that every room in this house could have been a haven for her husband and his mistress to make love. They could have even been here in the shower. The bitch might have even used her towel. What a horror. This is just unbearable. Mag turned off the water and jumped out of the shower stall. She grabbed a clean towel from the closet and went into the bedroom. Trockham, just calm, she whispered. She needed to figure out what to do next. Of course, she wanted to immediately rush to the firm to lay out all the facts in front of her husband, accuse him of cheating, raise a scandal, demand that he apologize to her on his knees, and find out who this woman who had the audacity to show up at their house, used the stuff Nastia, and sleep. On her bed, and not just sleep. God, it is disgusting. But Bruno could deny everything. He can blame it on the housekeeper. He could say that she slept over because Bruno was busy at night at the company. He could think of anything. Okay. And if he admits his guilt, what then? He can apologize, ask for forgiveness, forgive him, And then how can he be trusted? Yeah, his wife will be suspicious forever now, and she wants to know who the woman who was here is. Okay, that's all understandable. But if Bruno really didn't cheat on her, and he has some explanation for all of this, what if it wasn't him but a friend of his, on Mag example? Then make himself look like a suspicious fool who sniffs dirty linens and picks at the trash can. Nightmare. This option frightened her as much as the others. Mag poured herself a glass of martini. She took a few sips to calm herself. She had to think hard about the whole situation. After a few minutes, she calmed down and decided she would wait until her husband arrived, observe his behavior, try to find out some details. How had he spent the weekend? Maybe he would do something to give himself away. That's what she would do. Meg lay down, but she couldn't sleep. She wandered around the house all day, trying not to get worked up, but she wasn't very good at it. In the evening, her husband came home. He was in a wonderful mood. He kissed Mag and began to undress. How was your weekend? Did you have a good rest? Irina must have thrown a huge party, husband said. Yes, it was fun. Everyone enjoyed it, and me too. And how did you spend the weekend? Did you get everything done? I hope you got some rest, at least. She tried to ask without being pushy, so it didn't look suspicious. Yeah, I made it, thank God. You know, on Saturday, I even had to call an assistant to my house. We were up till midnight with the paperwork. It's a good thing I opened a bottle of wine, so it went faster. And my husband laughed. Mag breathed a sigh of relief. So his assistant was with him, and it was because of him Bruno got glasses. But then she remembered the earring. Well, how do you explain this? He came alone. Didn't he take his secretary with him? With her, I think it would have gone even faster. She said as aloofly as possible. No, why bother her at night? We were doing fine on our own. I'm going to my study. You get some rest. He kissed her on the forehead and left the bedroom, and Mag was left to sit on the bed and frown. No, something does not fit here. The deputy, the late-night hangout with him, and the earring were obvious clues. There's got to be another way to find out. She's not going to get anything out of her husband. She'd have to get her husband to bring his mistress here, if she had one. And Mag knew how to do it. She had to go away for the weekend again. Only fictitiously. That is, say she would go away, but stay home. Yes, that's what she would do. All week the girl had been watching her husband, but she had not detected anything suspicious. He behaved as usual, except that there was no intimacy between them again, although she had hinted at it several times. The man only referred to fatigue and a busy schedule at work, and nothing happened. And yet he didn't look tired at all. On the contrary, he was energetic and in a good mood. The whole thing looked too suspicious. Mag waited until Friday. In the middle of the day, she called Bruno. Darling, I have to leave urgently on my own business. I am already packing my bags. I booked a plane ticket. I will arrive on Sunday. Bruno wished her luck without asking her what she was doing. He sounded very happy. Mag packed her suitcase and hid it in her closet. She left a few things in the bedroom so she could see that she was packing and threw a wet towel on the bed. Mag peeked under the bed, then climbed under it. Perfect. There was plenty of room. She could only hope it would work out the way she'd planned. Mag put the phone on silent. She sat down by the window so she wouldn't miss her husband's car. She hoped he wouldn't come home without one, and then she will discover the identity of the woman who is her husband's mistress. If he brings her in, Mag will crawl out from under the bed and pull her by the hair. Mag sat by the window for about 3 hours. She was beginning to think that her whole idea was stupid. What if her husband came home alone? What was she hoping for? By carrying out this plan, would she lie under the bed all night or come out saying, she realized that her plan is just pure stupidity, and she looks stupid, and her whole life is kind of stupid. After all she is doing is suspecting her husband of something. Mag was just about to call Bruno to tell him that the trip was cancelled when she saw his car. Bruno arrived home. Through the bars of the fence bar, she saw that he had not arrived alone. There was someone sitting next to him. The tinted glass made it impossible to see the identity of his companion or companion, but she needed them to go into the house. She ran into the bedroom to get under the bed in time to hide. Already under the bed, she checked again that her phone was on silent mode. She didn't want to draw attention to herself by ringing or vibrating. She lay under the bed feeling silly. Her heart felt like it was going to jump out of her chest. Nasta felt as if the whole house could hear her heart pounding. She closed her eyes and tried to calm herself. Everything would be all right. She would remain unnoticed. A few minutes later, she heard her husband's voice, talking to someone. A minute later, Mag heard a woman laughing. Yes, he had arrived with a woman. Well, her plan wasn't so bad at all. She had succeeded. All she had to do was wait for them to come into the bedroom, and then Mag would give them a hell of a concert. The voices came closer. Mag, holding her breath, was waiting for the right moment, and then she heard a voice right in the bedroom. What a pig, she left everything and left. Of course, you have a housekeeper. You don't have to put things back at all. The maid will come and clean up. I'm the one who cleans up. And actually, if I had a house like this, I would have a housekeeper living here all the time to go and clean up after me all the time. The woman's voice sounded so familiar to Nastia that she stopped breathing for a moment.
Who could it be? Someone from the firm or someone she knew. Come on, you're wailing. Don't pay attention to things.
She doesn't usually leave her stuff behind. She likes order. She must have been in a big hurry. It's an important trip. What kind of important business could she have? Going to someone else's birthday party. Maybe Bruno laughed. The woman laughed too. And then Mag felt as if she had been hit on the head with a sledgehammer. She recognized the voice. It was her, their friend's wife. How? How is that possible? It couldn't be. She was his best friend's wife. How could he do this to them? How could he betray not only his wife, but his best friend's wife as well? Mag wanted to immediately jump out from under the bed to raise a scandal, to expose them for lying, to find out why they had done such a thing. But immediately she had another plan. No, she must not expose herself. She must listen to what they will say. Maybe that's not all she needs to find out. Mag closed her eyes and rested her forehead on the floor. She was in a terrible situation. Fate had given her an unpleasant surprise in the form of her husband's infidelity, but even more unpleasant was the fact that her husband had cheated on her with that bitch. Bruno, I know you're looking into this issue, but I'm gonna ask you one more time. When are you going to wrap this up? What are you going to wrap this up? What are you going to do about your wife? Do you already have a plan? And how long do I have to wait? In a demanding voice, the mistress said. Bruno could be heard kissing Alien. Then he said, But I've told you so many times not to worry, my beauty. I'll make it right. Alien scared her tongue and answered grudgingly, All your promises are nice and sweet, of course. But I need facts, my love, facts. What exactly are you doing to get rid of her? I've been waiting so long. I'm not satisfied with these occasional sleepovers. Here, I want to live here. You see, I want to live here. You see, I want to be a hostess here, not a guest when my wife is away. My love, but we often see each other at the hotel. Isn't that enough for you at the moment? I can't just throw her out of the house. It's still her house, you know. So make it yours. I know you can arrange that. This simpleton trusts you with all her business. Can't you get rid of her quicker? The mistress answered Bruno angrily. I do everything for it, take my word for it, and do not tell me off like a boy. I do not like it. I never lied to you. And if I said it would be solved soon, then it will be solved soon. Then it will be solved. All you have to do is wait and not nag me every time we see each other. It was clear that Bruno was angry, and Alien immediately started apologizing. But Bruno, love me. Don't be mad at me. It's not just us I'm worried about. You know that. You understand that I have to think not only about myself, but also about the baby, don't you? You don't want me to lose him, do you? Don't you? You don't want me to be nervous. All this worrying makes my stomach cramp, and I'm afraid I'll have a miscarriage. I can't take it. I want to have a baby with you. You know that. I love you so much, my darling. Your Candy loves you so much. That's why I want to live here with you, to be with you all the time. I want our baby to be born into a full family, and that will only be possible if you get rid of her. If nothing changes, what will happen to our baby? Tell me. He'll grow up fatherless, and everyone will call him names. That he's a bastard. Understand me. I just care about our child. Tell me that you don't resent me. Well, tell me, love. Tell your bun that you don't resent him. What on earth is going on? That thing's pregnant. Only whose baby is it? It's Leisha's baby. Mag was sure it wasn't her husband's baby. So Alien is trying to convince him that it's his. What a bastard. Yeah, she's just manipulating him. And Bruno, what a bastard. Sleeping with that bitch, cheating on 2 people. And he's up to no good, too. What do you mean he wants to get rid of her? Get rid of her how? He can't kill her, can he? And how can he kick his wife out of her own house? What happens when a husband can change like that? Or has he always been like that? Or has he always been like that, only she hasn't noticed it? That's creepy. How could she have ended up in such a horrible situation? She married a monster. Mag began to fear for her life. The 2 were discussing her as if she were some disgusting insect that she had to get rid of. Are you sure that I am the father? The man asked again. The girl began to wail. Well, of course, darling. Do you doubt me? It is your wife, my darling, who does not want to have a baby with you. And I love you so much, you don't have to ask me. She's not my sweetheart. It's true that she doesn't want to have a baby. We even had a checkup once. But she didn't want to go any further. That was the end of it. She didn't want to. The girl, sitting under the bed, almost choked. What was going on? Why would her husband say such a thing? Yes, she was the one who dragged him to the doctor. He's never wanted to have children. His career comes first. The girl realized that her husband and his mistress were planning to steal from her. Mag could no longer listen to these 2 deceivers, and she knew what she had to do next. While the 2 were cooing about something of their own, the girl unlocked her phone, which she had been holding in her hand the whole time. After thinking for a few seconds, she quickly texted her husband and then sent it. A moment later, her husband's phone vibrated. What's so important? So important, her mistress asked when she saw the man frown. Important, very important. Everything is cancelled. You will not sleep here tonight. Why not? What's the matter? She's not going anywhere. Her flight was cancelled and she's on her way home. She'll be home in an hour. So get out of here. Come on, don't forget your stuff. You still haven't found my earring. She asked. No, it's not here. So you didn't lose it here. If my wife had found it, she would have made a scene. If she doesn't say anything, she hasn't found the earring. You dropped it somewhere else. They left, the car door slammed, and they drove off. Mag lay under the bed for a few more minutes, and then she got out. She sat down on her bed and wondered, well, now she had to worry about her life. There was no telling what these 2 were up to, but clearly nothing good. The wording, to get rid of us, sounds very promising. There are a lot of possibilities here. The girl didn't even want to think which one was the worst. Mag was covered in goosebumps again. What was she going to do now? She had no one else but her husband. She thought she was protected, but it turns out she is in even more danger being married. How can she find a way out of this situation? And who can give her good advice? No one. No father. No relatives. You can't go to your friends with a problem like this. No one would believe her, or think she was crazy. Daddy, I miss you so much. You wanted what was best, and now I feel so defenseless and alone. What am I going to do? Daddy, help me, please. She whispered, folding her hands in front of her in a pleading gesture. And then she heard a sharp sound. She was frightened, thinking it was her husband returning, but it was quiet. There were no more sounds, and Mag slowly walked out into the hall. She immediately realized the reason for the sound. There was a framed picture hanging on the wall, and now it was lying on the floor. Apparently, the frame had torn off the wall. The girl picked up the frame. It was a picture of her father with his best friend, Michael. He had always helped her father, and Dad would do anything for him. Mag loved Uncle Misha, as she called him, although he was a very respected man in town and very wealthy. He treated her like a daughter. He himself had no children. Michael was admired by all women. Any woman was ready to leave everything for him, but he loved only one woman. His first wife. After her death in an accident, he never married. And then it dawned on Mag. Well, of course, Uncle Michael. That's who I need. Thank you, Daddy. You helped me, and from there, Mag kissed the framed photo and hung it on the wall again. Of course it helps. In the last years before he died, Mag, Daddy, and his friend rarely got together around the same table, but they always congratulated each other on all the holidays, and each knew that they would always help each other in case of need. A few days before she died, Daddy said to her, Daughter, if anything happens to me, I won't be able to protect you anymore if you need it, but I know there is someone who will do it in my place. If you need help, go to Uncle Misha. He won't refuse you. He promised me, and you promise me that you will go to him, okay? That you will go to him, okay? The daughter promised then, not really focusing on Daddy's work. She even kept a piece of paper with a phone number on it. The girl rushed to her desk. Where was that piece of paper? Had she thrown it away? After 5 minutes, her search was successful. Yes, here it was. The girl dialed the number with trembling hands and pressed the call button. Let him just pick it up, please. After a while, she heard a familiar voice. Yes, who is speaking? Uncle Michael, it's me, Mag. There was silence. Then the voice said, You must have the wrong number, Mag. Uncle Michael, it's Mag, you remember me. Dad gave me your number before he died. He said I could call you if I needed help. Mag. It's you, God. I'm so glad to hear from you. How good of you to call. Is there something wrong with you? Do you need help? Tell me quickly. And then the girl cried. She felt like a defenseless little girl. Her father had always protected her, taken care of her. She only now realized that with his death she had lost absolutely everything. She had married, but she did not feel safe. All this time her husband hadn't given her the sense of protection her father had given her, and hearing Daddy's best friend's voice made her realize how much she was alone in the world. What happened? Where are you? Shall I send a car for you? Don't be silent. Why are you crying? I need your help. But this isn't a phone call. I need your help, but this isn't a phone call. I need to see you. I'll tell you everything. I'm sorry. I have no one else to turn to. I don't trust anyone. I don't know what to do. Okay, I'll send a car for you. What's the address? All right, I got it. Don't worry, I'll be right here. Just don't cry, my darling. It makes my heart bleed. I'll see you soon. I'm waiting for you. The girl turned off the phone. She felt a little better. The gentle and caring voice gave her confidence that everything would be okay, and he would help her. She was no longer alone. An hour later, she was already at Uncle Misha's house. When Mag saw Michael, she began to cry again. He held out his hands to her, as if he had waited a long time to meet her. "My dear, I haven't seen you for so long. You are so beautiful. But why is my beauty so unhappy? What's wrong, darling? What's wrong, darling? What misfortune has befallen you? Tell me, I'll try to help you." The girl hugged him and closed her eyes. She even remembered the smell of his cologne. All his life he had used only one scent, the one his dead wife liked. "I'm in such a strange and horrible situation. It's about my husband. I don't even know where to begin." The man took her into his office. In the office sat his assistant. She quickly rose from her chair when they arrived at the door. "Is that all for today?" The man nodded. "Yes, you can go home. Just please be a dear and bring us some coffee and candy." The girl nodded and quickly left the office. The man seated his guest in comfortable armchairs and sat himself on the sofa opposite her. "Well, tell me. Just pull yourself together. I am right beside you." And Mag began to tell the story. 5 minutes later, the assistant came in. She put the tray on the coffee table and then silently left, closing the door behind her. The girl continued her story. As she began to speak of recent events, the shivers returned to her body as she spoke of how her husband had assured his mistress that he would soon get rid of his wife. Tears welled up in her eyes again. She finished the story, took a deep breath, and looked into the man's eyes. He was very serious. He crossed his arms over his chest and frowned. His gaze indicated that he had a plan in mind, but he was in no hurry to say it. After a while, he sighed heavily and said, "Yes, your husband is a real piece of work. I have not seen him yet, but I already have an idea of his nature. I've seen enough of them in my life to know how to distinguish them from decent people. Your husband is doing very well, I must say. With a wife like you who allows him everything in the world, he would have gone far only if he had been treated humanly and loved. And this rotten man is trying to hurt you. I get it, and I want to tell you that you interest me. It's been a long time since I've been involved in a showdown like this. You know, over the years, I've managed to surround myself with only people who are worthy of my trust. But it wasn't always like that. For a long time, I knew people who were hypocritical and greedy deceivers. Now I'm sure I have nothing to fear, but I used to have to watch out for everyone. I will help you. I will find out what your husband is doing and what he is up to. Don't worry, you're in good hands." Mag smiled shyly. "Will you really help me? Will you protect me?" The man grinned. "Of course, dear. How could it be otherwise? You are like a daughter to me. Don't worry, you'll be all right. I won't let you get hurt. I'll provide you with bodyguards who will watch over you around the clock. Nothing will happen to you, and in no time at all. I'll know everything about your husband. Now go home and get some rest. I don't think your husband will decide to do anything today. And when he does, I'll know everything." Mag said goodbye to Uncle Misha, hugged him tightly, and went home. My husband wasn't home yet. Apparently he and his mistress went to a hotel. Mag decided that she needed to meet Leisha and tell him everything. He deserved to know the truth, too. She texted him asking to meet. He immediately responded to her, asking for a location. After thinking about it for a while, she texted him that they should meet in the park where they liked to walk when they were dating. Alex agreed. Meg smiled as she recalled their walks. What a wonderful time it was. No worries, no hassles. All the people seemed kind and helpful. It flashed through Nastia's mind that she wished he had proposed to her first. Then she would not have been in this situation. Somehow she was sure that Alex would have treated her very differently, not the way Bruno had treated me. Why had she married him then? Was it just because he had proposed to her first? Or was there another reason? Maybe she loved Alex, and was afraid of those feelings, or something else. The girl didn't know the answers to all the questions. An hour later, she was already in the park. The guy wasn't there yet. The girl arrived early, but she couldn't be at home today. It was too hard to accept that her home, her fortress, was a love nest. Soon, a guy came up. "Hi, what's up? What was so urgent? We couldn't talk on the phone. You're scaring me." "What's your secret?" The girl hugged and kissed her companion. Then they sat down on the bench. "Because I can't be sure of anything. I learned things today that still make the hairs on my head move." He frowned. "Why do you need to talk to me? I don't understand anything." The girl looked into his eyes. She saw in them not only concern, but something that frightened her a little. There was passion there. She immediately lowered her gaze and said, "Because it's not just about me. It's about you." Alex was silent. Mag didn't break the silence either. It lingered, and she looked at the guy. He was watching the couple in love. The girl was looking into her lover's eyes, and the guy was kissing her now on the lips, now on the nose, now on the cheeks. It looked so touching that it made the girl's heart tingle. How long since she had felt this way? She had pretended to be happy, but in reality she was missing something. Her husband had been good until now, but not the kind of husband she had dreamed of. She lacked the warmth and caring, the genuine concern her father enveloped her with. Her husband cared for her, but his care manifested itself only in the fact that he took over the firm entirely. He kept telling the girl that he only wanted what was best for her, and to do that, he had to take care of her business to increase her wealth. But now she was no longer sure that the man she had chosen was sincere. "So what did you find out?" The boy broke the silence when he realized that she herself would not start the conversation. She perked up and shrank back, awakened by the touching memory. She squeezed her hands between her knees and said, "He's cheating on me." "Oh, that's how. I'm sorry he disappointed you." "I'm really sorry." The girl looked at him. "That's not all. He's cheating on me with your wife." Oh, I don't know what to say anymore. "Are you sure about that?" His calm voice surprised her. She wondered why he reacted so calmly. "I saw them together at our house. I caught them in the act. There can be no doubt about it. I was suspicious, so I hid under the bed, and I told him I left, and he brought her home. I'm just in shock." The guy sighed and rubbed his hands over his eyes. When he looked at the girl again, she thought he had aged a few years. "I suspected my wife was cheating on me, but there was no proof." "Well, I can't say I'm shocked, but the news is not pleasant, of course. My best friend and my wife. Your wife is pregnant. Mem, well, that's a shocker for me. I don't know what to say. I guess I should congratulate my best friend, don't you think?" And the guy grinned bitterly. Meg took his hand. "This baby isn't his. It's yours, and I don't know why she claims it's my husband's baby." "Well, I guess she claims it's my husband's baby." "Well, I guess she claims that because it really is your husband's." The girl shook her head. "No, it's definitely not his. I haven't told anyone, but he can't have children. It's true. They had been trying to conceive for a long time. The husband didn't care, but the girl really wanted children. When things didn't work out for a long time, she got nervous. At her insistence, they both got checked up on everything. They took all sorts of tests, underwent all the necessary examinations. When she had to go to get the results, her husband was away on a business trip. Meg went to the clinic alone. She took the results. They were not very comforting. The woman's health was all right, but the potential father had problems. There were a lot of terms she didn't even know about, but the doctor explained to her that her husband could never be a father. Mag was in complete shock. She could never get her husband pregnant, and nothing could be changed. If they want children, there is only one way out. But for her it was unacceptable because she wanted a child with her husband. When he arrived from his business trip, he didn't even ask his wife anything. He simply forgot that they were supposed to get the results of the examination, and his wife was unable to tell him that he was infertile. They never talked about children again or brought the subject up. This secret the girl carried inside, and only now told her best friend about it. Now he knows the truth. Now they both know that the child his wife is carrying is not from a cheater. Alex listened in silence as she fell silent. He sighed. "You do realize that this is your child. Why are you so calm? You have to do something. You can't leave it like this," she said worriedly, looking at her almost calm friend. But to her surprise, he was still indifferent. He took her by the arm. "I understand that you are in shock, but that's not all. I'm about to say something that will add even more drama to this whole situation. I know for a fact that I'm not the father of this child either." "What? You don't get it?" "What? You can't have kids either?" For the first time in all the time they were sitting in the park, the guy laughed heartily. "No, I'm fine with it. I just know for a fact. There was one time in my life when a girl and I made a mistake. I mean, we were too young to have kids, and I wasn't planning on getting married at the time. So I know for a fact that my ability to be a father cannot be questioned. But the circumstances today, you see, I can't be the father because I haven't been intimate with her in about 4 months, and we've been sleeping in separate rooms for 2 months. She cited her insomnia, says she can't sleep next to me because I'm in her way. So there's somebody else involved. So my darling and sweetheart is sleeping with somebody else, right?" I don't know what to say. The girl even opened her mouth in shock. Oh my God. That's exactly what she hadn't expected. So this couple had been having problems for a long time, too. "Why are you so calm about it? How do you do it? Don't you love your wife?" The boy glanced at her and then started to watch the elderly couple who were strolling leisurely through the park. After a minute he answered, "I already loved one girl once. She chose another over me. I could say that I liked my wife, but I never felt the love I felt for that girl again. I guess I only loved her, and she was just another phase in my life that I realize is ending now." The girl's mouth is all dry. He's talking about her. She was afraid to ask him anything because she was afraid to know the truth. If the guy didn't tell her directly, maybe he's talking about another girl. How to find out? And this girl, what about her? Do you know about her fate? Didn't she love you? I thought she did, but I must have been mistaken. That's why I didn't bother her. I hoped she would be happy. It was very important to me that she be happy, but I still think of her, and it is beyond me." The girl went pale. "Is she happy?" the girl asked quietly. The girl asked quietly. The boy answered just as quietly, "I thought she was. But it wasn't true. The other one didn't make her happy. And I'm very sorry about that. If I had known, I never would have given her to another. But I was a fool. What's the use of talking about it now? I wish I could have kept her from disappointment, but it's impossible. We went through this bitter experience. I guess we needed it for something." Both were silent. They didn't look at each other, but the girl could feel the vibe coming from the guy. She realized he was talking about her. She was the girl he loved then, and he almost confessed his feelings to her, but he didn't talk about them directly. He was letting her make her own choices. Now that she had no choice, her current husband proposed to her, and she said yes, and now another man is almost admitting his feelings to her, and again she has to make a choice. Just need to know exactly what he says about her. She worked up the courage to ask. "It was me, wasn't it?" Her interlocutor looked at her intently and squeezed the woman's fragile hand. "Yes, that's right," Meg sighed. How much had been weighing on her lately? And today had just turned her life upside down. How to get over it all. her husband's infidelity, and his devious plans, her friend's confession. What would she do now? She shook her head. I don't know what to say. I came to tell you what I found out. And on top of that, I got a fresh batch of unexpected news. Alex, Meg, you have always been a good friend to me. I don't think even my husband felt as much about you as I did. But I never knew that you loved me. When we were dating, you never said anything to me. You never once made it clear that you were serious about me. If only I had known. I thought I was just another infatuation for you, not binding you to anything. The boy shook his head too. No, you weren't just another crush. I'm sorry I didn't tell you straight up. I was stupid, presumptuous. I thought you understood that already. I'm sorry it was my mistake not giving us a chance to be together. I didn't think it would turn out this way. The girl got enough news today. She also told a friend that the lovers want to get rid of her somehow. This was the news that really made the friend angry. He was really pissed off. She told him that she had gone to her father's friend and that he had promised her to look into the whole situation and help her. He asked her not to do anything, told her to wait for news from him, but the guy was very agitated. Are you sure it's safe? I'm afraid something might happen to you. I won't survive it. Wouldn't it be better to go to the police? Don't be ridiculous. What? Am I going to tell them that I overheard some conversation lying under the bed? I can't prove anything. No, I'll wait for my dad's friend to call me. I don't think he's planning on eliminating me in the literal sense of the word. I'll get through the rest. The friend took the girl's hand again. Meg, you call if you suspect anything. I'll always be on the lookout. I just won't say anything to my wife so as not to scare them off, but I'll be watching her. And I want you to be careful. You're very important to me, you know. The girl stroked his cheek, smiled sadly, and whispered, How stupid I was. I chose the wrong man. How ironic now that man is helping me, even though he should hate me. You know, I wish things could still be different. I'm naive. The guy shook his head. No. You're not naive. You just want to be happy. I really hope that when we get through all this mess in our lives, we'll still talk to you about the most important things. They parted ways, agreeing that they would keep each other's attention to everything that was going on. The girl went home, where her husband met her. He behaved as usual. If she had not known that he had a mistress, she would not have realized that he had changed. The girl wondered how she could have married such a cold and calculating man. Her love for him had suddenly disappeared, or maybe it hadn't existed at all. Maybe she had just forced herself to love him all this time because she was afraid of being alone. Anything is possible, since she had been in an inadequate state, since her father's death. A few days later, she got a call from Michael. He said he would send a car for her. Mag realized that the acquaintance had important news because his voice was very excited and serious. When the girl met her father's buddy, she heard some very unpleasant news. Mag, I must tell you that your husband turned out to be an even bigger scoundrel than I thought. Just don't worry. Everything is under control. She went pale and grabbed her heart. What? Is he trying to kill me? She whispered, barely audible. The man hurried to reassure the girl. No, thank God he doesn't. But if he has committed such machinations, I think he is also capable of such a terrible act. Meg, has he been robbing you all this time that you are married? He steals money. He has a lot of accounts where he keeps everything. And I think a little more and your company will just go bankrupt and you'll be without a livelihood. I think that's how he planned to get rid of you. To drain the money out of you completely and then just divorce you and throw you away as an unwanted thing. Mag was shocked and didn't know what to say next. How could he? I trusted him. I trusted him completely. It's horrible. What am I going to do? Michael smiled at her affectionately and rubbed her on the shoulder. You know, he's very cunning, but I'm smarter than that. I have proof of his machinations. Don't ask me how I got it. I have a lot of papers in my hands that prove your husband's guilt. Tell me, have you ever signed any papers? The girl thought for a moment, then shook her head. Maybe a few times when we first got married and he started running the firm. At first I signed and then, no, I didn't. Micah nodded. I assume so. The signature on all the paperwork was forged, and you didn't suspect it, even though you owned the firm. Never signed anywhere. You are required to sign under every document. Every piece of paperwork has to go through a lawyer and you. I didn't even think it was that important. I thought my husband would figure it out on his own. He always said he was protecting me, helping me. How could I have imagined it would end up like this? He did protect himself, only to protect you from the nervous shock you would feel if you found out about his shenanigans. She realized now that it had all been a complete illusion. Her whole happy marriage was an illusion. And the girl, it turned out, was not wanted in this world by anyone but her father. Oh no. Another person who thought of her was Alex. This guy had originally treated her with genuine care and trepidation. And she didn't see it that way. Bruno took advantage of the situation when her father died. He managed to get his hands on the firm. He controlled her life. And the girl just went with the flow. But no more. It was time for her to wake up. She must get rid of everything that's making her suffer, and her husband must pay for using her for his own selfish purposes. She will not give him a penny of the money her father earned, and now she would take her fate completely into her own hands. Mag looked at her uncle. There was determination and stubbornness in her gaze. Now Michael knew that this girl was her father's daughter. She would not let herself be hurt again. What should I do, Michael? Will you give me a hint? And Michael prompted her. Mag went to the police with all the evidence of Bruno's shenanigans. His was arrested right at the firm. The offended girl came along with the police. She went into the office first. Oh, Mag, why didn't you tell me you were coming? Surprised, her husband said. She only grinned. Do I have to warn anyone if I'm going to come to my firm? That's strange. Do you have to warn someone when you come here every morning because you're not the boss here? The man frowned and said, What's the matter with you? You look angry, by God, like you've been bitten by a dog. You might say it was a dog. You bit me, so I decided to teach you a lesson. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you sick or something? What the hell are you talking about? The girl opened the office door, letting the police in. You're going to pay for everything you've done. And you know what I mean. You decided to take everything from me and then get rid of me. You're not going to get away with it. I know everything, and your mistress won't be able to enjoy my wealth, so you tell her if she comes to check on you in prison, if she comes. The husband cried out that none of this was true. He swore an oath of love. He was on his knees, but she wouldn't listen to him. If she hadn't seen with her own eyes that he was cheating on her, maybe she would still have doubts. He was very convincing, even crying. He looked at her with the eyes of a battered dog, but it was no longer possible to pacify the girl. Her ex-husband was afraid of losing everything, but this everything was not his property. It was all her true inheritance. The con man was defended by a good lawyer. The guy sincerely repented of what he had done, and that was a mitigating factor. He only got 5 years. Apparently, the defense of the criminal tried to do everything possible to prevent the guy from getting a long sentence. Maybe there was a bribe involved. The girl didn't know. She didn't care. She filed for divorce. They got a quick divorce. The girl was no longer the same. She was completely immersed in the business of the firm. She cleaned up the staff and surrounded herself only with people she could trust. She fired everyone her husband worked with. Only the loyal employees who had worked with her father were left. Now she was not like the gentle girl who had always relied on her husband. She had become an iron lady who ran her own business. Of course, she had the help of her father's friend. Now the girl often communicated with him, taking advice. She was grateful to him that he took such a part in her destiny. If it were not for him, the girl would have been destitute by now. After all the proceedings, they went to visit the grave of the girl's father. The girl thanked her father for bringing her up. She knew that because of him she had been able to get out of a terrible situation in her life. She remembered that picture that had fallen in the hallway back then, because it was because of that she remembered Uncle Misha. And then the girl left him alone near the grave, and the elderly man said quietly aloud, "What a test you have prepared for me. I got so many gray hairs while I was saving your business and your daughter. Couldn't you find a husband for her yourself? She married that scoundrel, poor girl, almost lost your inheritance. And you're resting. All right, I'm joking, of course. Actually, I wanted to thank you for your daughter, who has become so close to me, as if she were my own. I thank you for leaving me this gift. I didn't have children of my own, but I had the best friend I could have ever dreamed of. And I will always be there for your daughter. Thank you, friend. Sleep well." 6 months later, the businesswoman was already divorced. She was busy with her firm. She didn't think about her personal life at all. She tried not to think about her ex-husband and his mistress. Once the lawsuit started, she stopped talking to her friend and his wife. She didn't care about that. He didn't call or wrote to her. Apparently, he was dealing with his wife, too. 6 months later, Mag saw an old friend. He came to her office. "Mag, I'm glad to see you. Do you have some business, or did you just drop by?" "I'm both casual and business." "Are you in a hurry?" Reluctantly, the guy asked. The business owner looked at her watch. "I have 20 minutes, and then I have to leave on business." "How's it going with you, your wife? Are you with her?" she asked. The guy shook his head, looking her straight in the eye. The girl felt relieved, as if relieved of a heavy burden. She was uncomfortable with the fact that this nasty woman was this man's wife. She was afraid to admit to herself that she felt so bad at the thought. And when he shook his head, she was very relieved. "No, we are not together. After all those events, we broke up right away, and then we got divorced. You know, it turns out she had a bunch of other lovers. She'd been cheating on me for a long time. She was looking for a better replacement. She didn't even know who the baby was with. Miscarried, by the way. I think that after the divorce, she chose the best candidate out of all, and already jumped out to marry another fool. It's sad that such strange things happen in life. People break their fate, adjusting to the circumstances. If Leishy's business hadn't gone bankrupt, the cheater would still be with him. She would not have been looking for a rich lover in the hope of marrying him and providing herself with material well-being. If she hadn't gotten involved with the ex-girlfriend, she would still have believed her husband. Maybe she would have been on the street by now. Maybe he would have taken everything he could from her by now. An amazing coincidence of circumstances led to several people being hurt. But the resilient girl had gained something more. She had gained faith in herself and her strength, and she was now a worthy daughter of her father. She sighed and looked at her watch again. "I'm sorry, I have to go. I really am in a hurry. I hope you'll be all right," the girl said and stood up. The guy stood up silently, too. For a minute, they looked at each other. Then Mag took her bag and went to the door. Her friend followed her. They left the office. The girl hugged Alex and kissed him on the cheek. There was a spark between them. Both of them felt it. Mag blushed, and Alex went pale. She said goodbye to him and was about to leave when he grabbed her hand. "How long are we going to play these games?" he asked. "You know it doesn't make sense. Time goes by and we keep ignoring the obvious things. You know what I mean? You know I've felt about you all these years. I can't go on without you. I can see that you care about me, too. There are no barriers between us now. Let's give it a try. If you don't like it, tell me. I'll never bother you again." I'll disappear from your life forever." She just looked at him. It felt so good on her soul, as if she'd been waiting for this moment forever. Why did it have to take years for them to finally be able to say important things to each other? Could it really be like this? She stroked his cheek, ignoring the interested looks from the firm staff. "No, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. If that's what you came for, I'm doubly glad to see you," she whispered. Alex exhaled as if he hadn't been breathing on the walls the whole time. "My heart always pounded so fast when you were around. But now I was so afraid you were going to give me away that I thought it wasn't even beating," he replied. They stood for a few minutes, hugging each other and closing their eyes. Then she whispered, "I'm really late. I don't want to get out of my arms, but I have to go. Come to my house tonight. I live there too. I'll be waiting for you." The guy let her go, smiled, nodded, and kissed her hand. Alexei is happy with his old love, who finally reciprocated. "Bruno, I did all the time. He paid for his evil intentions in full. He was released a week ago. He was glad to be released, but during that week his joy had evaporated. He felt as if all the life force had been sucked out of him, all because he had seen his ex-wife and his ex-lover in the same day. And if one was at the very top, the other was at the very bottom, and this stark contrast between the two women was so strong that it finally finished him off. He came to his former home, or rather, his ex-wife's home. The girl was now with her new husband in this luxurious mansion in which he himself had once lived, and he was unpleasantly surprised to learn that his ex-wife had married Alex, his former friend, who had always looked up to her. The man knew he really liked her, and he was proud that he got her, but apparently the friend had overtaken him after all. Now he enjoyed all the privileges of a rich life. Another piece of news was that the woman was pregnant. He saw them coming out of the mansion. His friend carefully held his beloved's hand. He helped her into the car, closed the door behind her, and then got behind the wheel of her cool foreign car himself. "You'll pay for this," Bruno whispered, but he knew there was nothing he could do to them. He's a criminal. He's an ex-con. He's got nothing. He's lost everything. He shouldn't have messed with that fool. Everything was ruined because of her. The man decided he needed to see her. He had to talk to her, tell her all the wrongs, insult her so she would be hurt too. He wanted to humiliate her. He knew Alana's address. He hoped it was where she lived after the divorce. He went to her apartment and rang the doorbell for a long time. He heard some noise at the door, but no one opened it for a long time. Then some strange man with a naked torso opened it for him. "Put a buddy, it's my turn. You're a little early." "I got another half hour," the man whispered. "I don't know what you mean, buddy, but I need Alien. I just need to tell her something. She lives here, doesn't she?" "Doesn't she?" the man replied. The guest grinned. "Alien you need. What a businessman you are. All right, I'm kind today. I'll let you talk to her a little. He'll let you talk to her a little higher to see you. But not for long. You owe me another half hour." The man left, and Bruno stared in horror at Alina, who appeared before him. She looked like an old and frayed doll. She was wearing a crumpled robe through which her bare breasts showed through. On her feet were high-heeled shoes. Her hair was dry and disheveled. It was in a sloppy knot, but many strands of it were loose in a strange hairstyle. On top of that, she was drunk. "What happened to you?" the man asked in shock. The woman could not immediately focus her eyes on him, but she recognized him. But she ignored his question, or maybe she just did not want to answer. "Oh, Bruno is here. Oh my God, he got out of jail and came straight to me. I'm afraid you don't have enough money. I'm an expensive little thing now. You can't afford me. Maybe I'll do you a favor, though, out of old friendship. Just this once. You must have missed women. Did you get lonely out there, sweetheart? Well, you can come back in half an hour. I'll be out in a half an hour. I can't stand here with you now. George gets very angry if I don't give him the time he paid for. That's it, Kiyo, waiting for you, my pretty boy. And the woman slammed the door, and he ran out of the entryway like a swarm of bees was chasing him. What a horror. She was at rock bottom, and he knew he could say nothing to her. He didn't even want to see her anymore. And now Bruno sat in the park, not knowing what he should do. However, he understood that his life would never be the same again, and he had himself to blame for that. Bruno, who had served his sentence. Disappointed in himself and life,